Why people are talking about a $2,400 Social Security deposit. Tomorrow morning, millions of bank accounts across America will receive Social Security deposits, and some of those deposits may reach amounts as high as $2,400. Naturally, that number has caught a lot of attention. For many seniors, seeing headlines like that can bring a mix of hope and concern. Some people wonder, is this a bonus? Others worry, if I don't see that amount, did I miss something? And some are quietly afraid that if they don't understand what's happening, they could make a costly mistake without even realizing it. Here's why this moment matters. Social Security payments are not random. They follow a strict system based on your work history, your age when you claimed benefits, and the specific programs you qualify for. But when money arrives, especially when the amount looks larger than usual, confusion often arrives with it. And confusion is expensive, not always today, but over months and years. When people don't understand what a deposit really represents, they may spend differently, plan incorrectly, or feel unnecessary stress comparing themselves to others. That's why this conversation is not about chasing big numbers. It's about understanding your number. Not everyone will see $2,400, and that does not mean something is wrong. In fact, many people receiving less are exactly where they should be. The goal here is clarity. When you understand why money shows up the way it does, fear fades, planning becomes easier, and retirement feels steadier. Why not everyone gets paid the same day or the same amount? One of the biggest misunderstandings about Social Security payments is the idea that everyone gets paid at the same time and in the same way. That has never been true. Social Security runs on a structured system. It is carefully organized to manage payments for millions of people without overwhelming banks or creating delays. Because of that, deposits are released in scheduled waves, not all at once. So when you hear that payments are landing tomorrow, it does not automatically mean your payment is landing tomorrow. Some people may already have been paid, others may be paid this week, and some may not see their deposit until next week. All of that can be perfectly normal. The same is true for amounts. Two people can both be receiving Social Security, both retired, both living in the same town, and still receive very different deposits. That difference does not mean someone made a mistake or missed out. It simply reflects how the system calculates benefits. Your payment is based on decades of information: how much you earned, how long you worked, when you claimed benefits, and whether any adjustments apply. When those factors differ, the deposit differs. This is why comparing your check to someone else's often creates unnecessary worry. Instead of asking, why did they get more? The healthier question is, do I understand why I receive what I receive? Once you understand that, the guessing stops, and with it, much of the stress disappears. What a $2,400 deposit really represents. When people hear a number like $2,400, the mind naturally jumps to conclusions. Some assume it must be a special bonus. Others think it's a one-time government program. And some worry that if they don't see that amount, something went wrong. But the reality is far more practical and far less dramatic. In most cases, a deposit that reaches $2,400 is not one single benefit. It's often a combination of several pieces coming together at the same time. That amount may include your regular monthly Social Security benefit. It may also include adjustments that have been building quietly over time. For some people, cost of living increases layered over many years contribute to a higher monthly amount. For others, a correction may have been made because the Social Security Administration identified missing or miscalculated earnings. Sometimes people qualify for more than one type of support. When those payments land close together, or even on the same day, it can look like one large, unexpected deposit. None of this is random. Each dollar has a reason behind it. The problem is that no one usually explains those reasons clearly. So, when seniors open their bank accounts and see a number they weren't expecting, confusion sets in. And confusion often leads to fear. Here's the reassuring truth: a larger deposit does not automatically mean trouble. In many cases, it simply means the system is catching up to what you were already entitled to receive. Understanding that turns uncertainty into calm. Why seeing a smaller amount doesn't mean something is wrong. Just as important as understanding larger deposits is understanding smaller ones. When headlines talk about payments reaching $2,400, it's easy to look at your own deposit and feel uneasy if the number is lower. Some people immediately wonder if they made a mistake, claimed at the wrong time, or somehow missed out. That reaction is understandable, but it's usually unnecessary. Social Security was never designed to be one size fits all. Your benefit is built from your personal work history, not from headlines or averages. Two people can work honest jobs their entire lives, retire at similar ages, and still receive very different monthly payments. Why? Because the system looks at decades of earnings, not just job titles. It considers how consistently you worked, how much you earned during your highest years, and the age at which you chose to claim benefits. Someone who waited past full retirement age may receive delayed retirement credits, resulting in a higher monthly amount. Someone else may have claimed earlier because life required it, and that choice was not wrong. It was necessary. A smaller payment does not mean failure. It does not mean poor planning. And it does not mean you're being treated unfairly. It simply reflects a different path. When you understand this, comparison loses its power. Instead of asking, why is theirs bigger? You begin asking, do I understand mine? And that question leads to confidence, not regret. Your benefit represents years of effort and contribution, and it belongs to you exactly as it is. How cost of living adjustments and corrections affect your payment. Another reason Social Security deposits sometimes look different than expected has to do with adjustments that build quietly over time. One of the most common is the cost of living adjustment, often called COLA. COLA exists for a simple reason. Prices go up. Groceries, housing, utilities, and medical costs all increase over time. To help benefits keep pace, Social Security applies adjustments that raise monthly payments. These increases don't usually feel dramatic in a single year, but layered over many years, they can make a noticeable difference. That's why two people who started with similar benefits years ago may now receive very different amounts. There are also times when the Social Security Administration corrects past calculations. Maybe an employer reported earnings incorrectly, maybe a year of work wasn't fully counted, or maybe a small error went unnoticed for a long time. When those mistakes are discovered, the system recalculates the benefit, and if you were supposed to be receiving more than you did, the difference is paid out. Sometimes that correction appears as a higher than usual deposit. When that happens, it can feel unexpected or even concerning. But in many cases, it's simply the system catching up. That money isn't random. It isn't a gift. It's money that already belonged to you. Understanding this helps you respond calmly instead of assuming something went wrong. And calm understanding is one of the most valuable tools you can have when managing retirement income. How payment timing is organized and why it's not random. Another piece of the puzzle that often causes confusion is timing. When people hear that payments are landing tomorrow, many assume the Social Security Administration simply presses a button and sends money to everyone at once. But that's not how the system works. Years ago, paying millions of people on the same day created major problems: bank delays, long lines, and unnecessary stress. To fix that, Social Security moved to a staggered payment schedule designed to keep things orderly and reliable. Today, your place in that schedule depends mainly on your birthday and, in some cases, when you first started receiving benefits. If you were born between the 1st and the 10th, your payment usually arrives on the second Wednesday of the month. If your birthday falls between the 11th and the 20th, it typically arrives on the third Wednesday. And if you were born between the 21st and the 31st, your payment is scheduled for the fourth Wednesday. There is also a separate group, people who began receiving benefits before May of 1997. They are on what's often called the legacy schedule, and their payments arrive on the third of the month, regardless of birthday. So when deposits start showing up, it doesn't mean everyone is being paid at once. It simply means one scheduled wave is moving through the system. Knowing which wave is yours replaces uncertainty with confidence and turns waiting into planning. Why comparing your payment to others creates unnecessary stress. One of the fastest ways confusion turns into stress is comparison. When people hear about deposits reaching $2,400, it's natural to look around and wonder how your payment stacks up. A neighbor mentions their amount. A friend shares what showed up in their account. And suddenly, a quiet question appears. Why is theirs higher than mine? But this is where comparison quietly does damage. Social Security is not designed to reward one person over another. It's designed to reflect individual work histories. Your payment is shaped by decades of earnings, not by what someone else receives this month. Two people can work similar jobs, live similar lives, and still receive different benefits. One may have worked longer, another may have earned more during peak years, one may have delayed claiming benefits to earn higher monthly checks, another may have claimed earlier because life demanded it. None of those choices are wrong, they are simply different paths. When comparison enters the picture, people often feel regret over decisions that made sense at the time. That regret serves no purpose now. What matters today is understanding what you receive and why, not measuring your value against someone else's deposit. A higher check doesn't mean someone was smarter or more deserving, and a lower check doesn't mean you failed or missed out. Your benefit reflects your journey. When you stop comparing, clarity returns, and with clarity comes peace, something far more valuable than any headline number. When Social Security and SSI payments appear together. Another situation that often causes confusion is when multiple payments appear close together in the same month. Some seniors receive Social Security retirement benefits and also qualify for Supplemental Security Income known as SSI. These are two separate programs with different rules and different schedules, but when timing lines up, they can land very close together or even on the same day. When that happens, the deposit can look unusually large. And that's when questions start. Was this a bonus? Is it temporary? Did something change? In most cases, nothing changed at all. SSI is typically paid at the beginning of the month. Social Security follows its Wednesday or third of the month schedule. When the calendar shifts because of weekends or holidays, those deposits can suddenly cluster together. What looks like one big payment is often just two separate benefits arriving side by side. This is especially common in months when the first day of the month falls on a weekend. Payments move earlier, and spacing disappears. The key is remembering this: two programs, two purposes, one calendar. Seeing them together does not mean you're receiving extra money. It means timing lined up in a way that's unfamiliar. When this happens, the safest response is not panic, it's curiosity. Check your benefit notices. Look at the breakdown. Each payment has a reason behind it. Once you understand that structure, the surprise fades. And instead of wondering whether something is wrong, you can confidently recognize what's actually happening. How taxes and Medicare can change the number. You see. Another reason Social Security deposits sometimes look different than expected has nothing to do with mistakes or missing money. It has to do with taxes and Medicare. Many seniors are surprised to learn that Social Security is not always tax-free. For some people, depending on total income, a portion of Social Security benefits can be taxable. That doesn't mean the government is taking most of your check. It means part of your benefit may be counted as taxable income when you file your return. To avoid a large tax bill later, some people choose to have taxes withheld up front. When that happens, the amount deposited into your bank account may look smaller, even though your benefit itself did not change. Medicare also plays a role. For most recipients, Medicare Part B premiums are automatically deducted before Social Security reaches your account. If you also have Part D prescription coverage, that premium may be deducted as well. In some cases, premiums can increase temporarily due to higher income in a previous year. When that happens, the deposit you see may drop unexpectedly. The important thing to remember is this: a smaller deposit does not always mean a lower benefit. Often, it simply means deductions are happening behind the scenes. When you understand that, fear fades. Instead of assuming something went wrong, you can calmly review the explanation and ask questions if needed. Knowledge turns confusion into confidence. When working, pensions, or past jobs affect your benefit. Another area that often surprises seniors involves work history that doesn't neatly fit the standard Social Security path. Some people spent part of their careers in jobs that did not pay into Social Security, certain government positions, school systems, or public agencies. When those workers later qualify for Social Security, their benefit can sometimes be reduced due to how the system balances pensions from non-Social Security employment. This can feel confusing and unfair, especially if no one explained it ahead of time. But it's important to understand, this is not a penalty, it's a formula. Social Security is designed to coordinate with pensions earned outside the system, and that coordination can change the final amount you receive. There's also the question many people ask quietly: can I work while receiving benefits? The answer is yes, but with rules. If you are below full retirement age and earn more than a certain limit, Social Security may temporarily withhold part of your benefit. This often causes alarm. People worry the money is gone for good. It isn't. Those withheld amounts are not lost. Once you reach full retirement age, your benefit is recalculated and your monthly payment increases to make up for those months. This is a timing adjustment, not a punishment. Understanding these rules ahead of time prevents fear and helps you make thoughtful choices without guilt or regret. When larger deposits are adjustments or back payments. Sometimes a Social Security deposit arrives that looks noticeably larger than usual, and that can immediately trigger concern. Many seniors worry, was this a mistake? Will they take it back? In most cases, the answer is no. Often, these larger deposits are the result of adjustments or back payments. Over the years, small errors can quietly exist in someone's Social Security record. An employer may have reported earnings incorrectly, a name change may have caused confusion, or a year of work may not have been fully credited. When the Social Security Administration reviews those records and finds an error, they correct it. And if you were entitled to a higher benefit than you received, they send the difference to you, sometimes covering several months or even longer. That's when a deposit appears that feels unexpected. But it isn't luck, it isn't charity, and it isn't random. It's money that was already yours, finally catching up. This is why checking your Social Security statement from time to time matters. Make sure your earnings history looks accurate. If something seems missing or incorrect, asking questions can make a real difference over the long term. And if you ever receive a larger payment along with a letter explaining why, take a moment to read it carefully and keep it. That explanation is there to protect you and to confirm that the system is working to give you what you earned. Why checking notices and asking questions protects you. One of the most important habits you can build in retirement is something many people overlook, paying attention to official notices. When Social Security makes a change, whether it's an adjustment, a correction, or a recalculation, they usually explain it in a letter. That letter might arrive by mail or appear in your online account, and while those notices can feel overwhelming at first, they often hold the answers people are searching for. Too often, seniors see a change in their deposit and jump straight to worry. They assume something is wrong, or worse, that something bad is coming next. But in many cases, the explanation is already written down, quietly waiting to be read. If something still doesn't make sense after reading the notice, it is absolutely okay to ask questions. You have the right to understand your benefits. Calling Social Security, requesting clarification, or asking for a review is not causing trouble. It's responsible stewardship of the income you depend on, and many issues that feel frightening at first can be resolved with one calm conversation. If a decision truly feels wrong, you also have the right to appeal. There is a process, there are timelines, and many people have successfully corrected errors and received back payments because they spoke up. You do not need to face this system silently. Understanding your notices and using your voice when needed turns a confusing system into something you can navigate with confidence and dignity. Why direct deposit and payment security matter more than ever. Beyond the amount and the timing, there is another piece of this system that deserves attention: how your money actually reaches you. Today, the vast majority of Social Security payments are delivered through direct deposit, and that's not just about convenience, it's about security and peace of mind. When your benefit is deposited electronically, it arrives predictably. It isn't delayed by weather, mail disruptions, or lost envelopes. It isn't exposed to theft or damage. And once it's in your account, it's available immediately. For seniors who still receive paper checks, the waiting can quietly add stress. You may find yourself watching the mailbox, wondering if something went wrong or worrying about what could happen if a check is delayed or misplaced. Direct deposit removes that uncertainty. And for those who don't have a traditional bank account, there are still safe options, such as government-issued debit cards designed specifically for benefit payments. No one should feel left out or unsafe accessing the money they earned. When payments arrive smoothly and reliably, something important happens emotionally. You stop bracing for problems, you stop worrying about interruptions, and you gain the freedom to focus on what truly matters: your health, your loved ones, and your daily life. Predictability creates calm. And in retirement, calm is not a luxury. It's a necessity worth protecting. Understanding your payment is the real financial power. As we come to the end of this conversation, it's important to pause and reflect on what truly matters. A Social Security deposit, whether it's $1,200 at $800, $2,400, or somewhere in between, is more than just a number on a screen. It represents decades of work, years of showing up when life was busy, stressful, or uncertain. It represents contributions you made with the understanding that this system would be there for you later. That money is not a gift, it is not charity, and it is not something you should feel confused or ashamed about. The reason we've spent this time walking through deposits, schedules, adjustments, taxes, and timing is simple. Clarity brings calm. When you understand why your payment looks the way it does, headlines lose their power, comparisons fade, panic disappears, you stop reacting emotionally and start planning thoughtfully. And when something doesn't look right, you're no longer afraid to ask questions because you understand the system better than before. Retirement is not about chasing the biggest number, it's about stability, predictability, and peace of mind. You deserve to feel confident when you open your bank account. You deserve information that respects your intelligence and your life experience, and you deserve to know that you are not alone in navigating the system. Understanding your benefits is one of the strongest financial habits you can build, and that understanding protects not just your money, but your peace. Take a breath, stay informed, and take care of yourself.